Hi. Like everybody else, I've been touched by the refugee crisis we're seeing for the last few days. Uh, the refugees from Syria. Nothing new there. It's been this war, this conflict has been going on for the last 5 years, but it took a sudden turn with the very mediatized death of this young boy. And like I guess everybody else, I wonder what can I do? What else can we do to help people now that we have seen it? Now that we cannot deny it anymore. And I have to admit I've been very disappointed by the response of the Canadian government. I'm trying in my message, in my sermon, not to get too much into politics. Politics in a larger term. Like we have to vote. Once again, go to vote on October 19. Very important. But to take side, it's very tricky for a minister because you have parishioner and people in your congregation from all over the spectrum. I'm saying I've been disappointed because not because of what happened in the last few years, because most country was like Canada. The war was over there. There was refugee boohoo. What can we do? We're war, war, war. That's the past. But now, like I said, we have this crisis in front of us. We cannot denying it. And also we know we can do something fast. I remember, and a lot of media remind us when there was a crisis in Kosovo, we were able to bring 6,000 people in about 6 months. So it's possible to do something quite fairly rapidly. We cannot bring all of them here in a month, but there's something we can that can be done. And it's the response of the Prime Minister that says that yes, we want to bring people, but we want to keep the security of Canada. What we can read there is they might be refugee, but they might be terrorists or bad people, which, yes, it's true. But is it a reason to let people die? Uh, is it because there's one bad apple and a full field of apple that you let all the apple rotten? Really? And also what I found it very difficult to hear is the Minister of Immigration says that they're not planning to change their policy. But if church and local organization and people want to sponsor them, that's great. What we can hear, I think, is we're not ready to commit money, but if it comes from your pocket, that's okay. Once again, I understand nothing is free, or almost nothing is free in this world. And and yes, government has its obligation and the importance of a fairly balanced budget. Yes, it's important. We should not waste the money of the people. In the same time, saving life of vulnerable people, I cannot think of a better way to use my tax money. I would be gladly, I would be proud to say, there's X number of my money that went to help people, and maybe we will be in small deficit, but we save lives. How difficult that could be. I'm sure I'm missing a lot of aspect in this debate. I'm sure it's more complicated. It is just it's one of those moments when it should not be about politics. It should not be about voting. It should not be about ideology. It's about human beings whose life is in jeopardy. We're not even talking about Are they in danger? No, their lives are in jeopardy. Yes, they're rushing through Europe without any valid papers. What other option do they have? What other option do they have? You know, we're seeing this crazy story about this little boy. And one thing we can be sure of, the family knew, the adults knew exactly what were the risks. It says about half of the people taking that route, that trip on the water died, and I'm surely they knew about it. So they said chance of death, 50% of death is better than what we have. It's very difficult for us in our living room, in our office. Try to imagine what their life could be. So, once again, go to vote. Once again, talk to every man and women who are running for office and ask them and remind them of the situation and ask them what could they do. And each of us, we can sponsor one way or another refugees. At our church here at Kanata United Church, where we have a program of sponsoring refugee. It's not from Syria, it's a family from Afghanistan, but at some point, a refugee is a refugee. We're there to save lives. And the life of people fleeing Afghanistan is as much worthy than someone fleeing Syria. There's other program, there's other way to sponsor, to support this. It's a time to be generous. It's the time to be compassionate. It's a time to be human. I'm not even talking about Christian. I'm talking about being decent human being. So let us try to do something about it.